This is the #1 silent killer in your Amazon business. And I know this from personal experience because this lesson cost me nearly $20,000 a few years ago. And what I'm about to do is give you the entire breakdown on how you can avoid this from even happening in the first place, leaving you with tons of extra profit for your Amazon business. With that being said, let's get into the video so you can see exactly what this silent killer is and how to avoid it. As always, if you got value, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching. Let's get into it.
My business completely skyrocketed overnight. So for our first 6 months in business, we did about 25,000 revenue total. And then the next 12 months after that, we went straight to $1 million. So to take that kind of jump from 25 to $1 million, there were certain things going on in the back end that I really wasn't paying attention to. And these things are silent killers. They will completely destroy your Amazon business. And it honestly almost put me out of business. The crazy part is these are things that most people overlook. And it's because it's not really talked about. It's not the flashy things that make you so much money, like how to source a product and get it more profitably than everybody else. But trust me, if you don't pay attention to these 2 holes I'm about to tell you, you won't be in business for much longer. So let's break down what these 2 holes are. Basically, when you're running a successful business, things can be overlooked. Profit can go missing at a certain point if you're not paying attention to it. And the 2 most critical areas that you need to maximize your profits to prevent your business from actually sinking, like mine almost did, is these 2 holes. Now, knowing your numbers to the T, that is the first hole that you need to fix. A lot of sellers do not have an understanding about accounting. They don't really pay attention to it. They think, oh, they're making all this money, but in reality, they're not making as much as they think they are. And I fell into that trap. I thought I was making like 25K profit a month. And then really, when they look at the books, it was like 10, 12. So, that's something that people need to do and people need to manage. And a lot of these tools that they tell you, like Seller Board, they only give you like a partial picture. They don't really give you the full picture. And they usually tend to lead to people overestimating their profits. And it leads to them making poor decisions at the end of the day. And that's like what I did. I maybe reinvested too much because I thought we were growing so fast, because I thought we were making more than we were. And that led to some issues in the long term with cash flow and stuff like that. So really the solution boils down to using a tool like QuickBooks. Now, what QuickBooks does, I'll just do a quick little search so you can see exactly what QuickBooks will do for you. It's really a platform that manages your books, and it's super cheap. You can get it for $18.50 a month. What it's going to do is really just generate your monthly P&L, and it's going to, which is profit and loss. It's going to give you exactly how much you're making every single month to the T. I have an actual profit and loss statement that we have from last year. So what this does is it breaks everything down line by line. You can see how much income came in. You can see how much your cost of goods sold are. You can see all of the expenses that you had for your Amazon business. And it's all itemized. So it's easy to understand. It's easy to know what's going where that is actually costing you. So at the end of the day, you're left with the net operating income, which is what QuickBooks gives you. So the month of January, we made $10,500. And that's basically what sums up a 7-figure Amazon business. And if you don't know your numbers, how can you actually get to the accurate number that you're making? And how can you know exactly how much you can pay yourself and do all these other things, how much you can reinvest, all this stuff. So it makes things super tricky when you don't know how much you're making. And that's one thing that we ran into. Another one is not knowing your balance sheet. So you need to understand your balance sheet. And basically what this is it sums up all of your assets and all of your liabilities. So how much assets you have and how much debt or anything that you owe. So if you have more assets than liability, you have positive equity. And the most important thing is to have positive equity. If you don't look into this and you have negative equity, your business is basically a sinking ship. So you want to make sure that you know exactly what your balance sheet looks like, and QuickBooks will help you do that. That's another reason why QuickBooks is super important. It will total up all your debt, all your assets and inventory, and it'll give you a number so you know exactly how much money is actually in your business. And another thing is to avoid mistakes like these. So websites will fail to refund you. This is basically when you get an order or you place an order and it gets canceled and then the website forgets to refund you or just never refund you for whatever reason. This could be money that is sinking out of your business and you're not recuperating. So you need to make sure you're proactive and look for these things on your credit card statements. Make sure you have a system for this in place. And then inventory losses that aren't accounted for. So this could be like Amazon losing inventory or UPS missing it in transit, something like that. You want to make sure you have a system for getting all that back in place and getting all that money back into your business. So, There's different expenses that this is a common thing that people forget, is to keep track of these expenses, and then it lowers or maybe inflates their P&L because they're not keeping track of certain expenses for their business. So you need to make sure you have a clear picture over your profits and know exactly how much you're making every single month. Hole number 2 is inventory leakage. So this is basically when inventory is lost at the Amazon fulfillment centers, or it could be lost at your prep center, or lost on the way to your house when you're about to ship it to Amazon, or just never sent out by the supplier, like I mentioned before. So you need to make sure you have a system in place for tracking this inventory, making sure that you have an exact number of how much you should be getting back. What we use to make sure that we recuperate all our money from Amazon is seller investigators. As you can see here, it's recuperated $13,500 in like the last 2 years or so from us. This is money that would have otherwise gone missing. And this is basically for lost shipments on the way to Amazon, lost inventory at the warehouse, customers not returning things. There's so many ways that it can kind of happen, but Seller Investigators has your back and make sure that it doesn't happen. So this is a tool that we use for this reimbursement. But that's basically helps us get our money back for all the inventory that we have went missing. And then another way that we can, track this inventory is having like everything properly recorded on your buy sheet, making sure you're matching up to what you ordered, matches what you received. That's extremely important, making sure you get the refunds for those products that were never shipped by the supplier. There's so many different ways that it can go missing. You need to make sure you have a system in place. So, for example, this is basically with Seller Investigators. This is basically with the supplier and shipper, means like on the way to you or to your prep center, it went missing or just never was shipped out. Regular audits, you need to make sure you're doing these things monthly and using either Google Sheets as like a form of matching up all the numbers, which is what we do in part of our system. And then we also use Seller Investigators as our other part for Amazon, because that's just too complex to be tracking through a Google Sheet. But yeah, so making sure that you're plugging these leaks to basically like not even necessarily double, but you'll see a significant increase in your profit margins if you are keeping track of these things, because it's extremely important. And the reason why this matters is because negative equity, like I mentioned before, this is when your liabilities are greater than your assets, which means your business is basically a sinking ship. And this is something that I notice way too commonly when sellers aren't paying attention to this. It can happen to you. It can happen to anyone. It happened to me at one point. So you need to make sure that you avoid this from even happening in the first place. And if your business is at that point, it's basically unstable, sinking ship. It could go under at any point if you have too much liabilities and too much debt. The next one is stunted growth. So without clear finances and proper inventory management, it becomes really hard to scale. And the reason is because if inventory is going missing, you think this money's in your pocket, but reality it's not. And sometimes it becomes hard to tell when a lot of money's going back into inventory. You're reinvesting constantly. And it becomes really hard to tell if 3,000 is missing here or 1,000 missing here. So that's why this is extremely important, because it can become literally a silent killer if you are not paying attention and you're not tracking your inventory and having proper finances. So fixing these issues will lead to your business growing profitably. You'll scale faster. It'll allow you to achieve all your goals, 20, 30, 40K profit, whatever you want to hit a month. It will get you there because you'll have a proper foundation for your business. So extremely important. And a couple things to take action with, using financial tools like QuickBooks, extremely important. Accounting for all your expenses. Make sure you have a clear inventory tracking system, and you're, making sure you get this money back for anything that's a discrepancy, anything that went missing. And lastly is to seek professional help if needed. Obviously, use these tools like QuickBooks. If that's hard for you, I would definitely recommend getting a CPA. That completely changed our business. It helped us know exactly how much we're making every single month, and it's only $400 a month. If you are starting out, yes, it's a lot, but if you are scaling, it's not that crazy of an expense to make, and it will be one of the best decisions you ever make. Another thing is business coaching. If you need help setting up these systems, extremely important to get some advice on that. If you want to scale faster, we offer personalized support. So if you want to book a free roadmap call down below, we'll hold your hand and take your business to 100K a month in the next 180 days. If you want to see that transformation, definitely click the link down below and go ahead and apply to our program. And as always, if you got some value from this video,